the result is complete domination. That mentality in your head where you have to now beat these players or find a way to beat these players just gets installed in your head, and you get more creative after game because you get a feel for what these guys are. For me, in my head, it wasn't about stats, it's about winning the game. It's about winning the game. If you get the W, that's all that matters. Do you enjoy what you do, or is it just a drag for you every day?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Athletic Sports Show, the show where we take all kinds and various types of athletes, give them the platform to share their stories in the hopes of inspiring us and others to just continue to embrace their lives and see it as an adventure. Today, I'd like to introduce our special guest, my brother Brandon. Welcome guys, welcome. Please welcome him to the show.
Hey, what's up?
And if you guys don't know who Brandon is a retired basketball player, an avid cosplayer, a professional photographer, and most especially, a expert cancer ass kicker. And
well, currently kicking cancer in the ass at the moment.
Yeah,
so.
as you could see in the sort of background that we have, and his infamous shaved bald head.
We're in the hospital, so you know it's to be expected.
And the reason why I decided to bring him in the show is because he is going to share with us how having an athlete's mindset could definitely be carried on into the different parts of his life, and how it is currently helping him kick cancer's ass. And that's why he's here in the show. So to start off with, if you could just tell the people, how did you start playing basketball in the first place? What got you started playing basketball?
Well, back in the Philippines, there are a couple of sports that you can get started with. For me, when I got started, basketball was mostly everything. My dad started playing basketball, and then I sort of followed in his footsteps. From there, it just became fun. I started from a very young age, very early age. We're talking about what, 10 to 11 years old, and then from there it kind of like escalated, and it continued to grow more until at one point I'd reach my age of, I think I was I was in my 20s. I was in my 20s at that point, and I recently I received an injury, a very bad one at that, and it took me months and months to recover. So in my head, I was thinking, you know what? I can't do the sport that I really worked hard in, day in, day out. I usually play for fun, but when it comes to competitive, that's where it starts to really rive up. But at that point, I was thinking, do I continue training on my sport where I work hard every single day, or do I open my horizon and just change into something else? Photography, to me, because I follow this guy almost everywhere with my camera. If you notice, most of his videos are usually taken by me. Not to brag, not to brag or anything, but photography came in a very sort of weird way, in a very special way. It started off when I was cosplaying, because I'm an avid cosplayer. I go to the biggest Comic Cons in London and stuff like that. I network and meet a lot of people. From there, taking photos was sort of fun. And then after that, I invested on an entry-level camera. And then it got even more fun, because I learned a lot from that camera. And then from there, I kind of bought as you would say, a professional camera, which I did. And then from there, it got a lot more interesting. I looked at the world in a different way. My creativity just exploded, because I see the world in a different way. Angles, portraits, landscapes, all of that, video, slow motion. so many things happened in such a short period of time, and that really, 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 really got me. And I did all of these things out of trial and error. I didn't really think about, should I go to a school? Should I go? I learned most of my stuff in YouTube. And just because of my fuel of curiosity about how to use this camera and what I can do with it, it just kind of like clicked from there. And ever since, I never looked back.
So you can see, guys, there's a lot of things that he just sort of moved on straight from after sports, and I think that's one of the things that he does very well. And in the show right now, we're going to start to uncover how he does that, and how he carried this mentality of just keep moving on from a sport into a life after sports. So I think this brings to the question, maybe people listening are quite curious, the sort of achievements that you've gotten for yourself in your basketball career.
Okay, so when I was young, I was MVP at a very young age. I was mostly team captain ball, or they would say team captain back in the Philippines. I would usually play against players that are usually older. So by the time when it comes to playing kids my age, I would just do very well. There were games where, you know, you'd score 55 points, you know. I'm not here to brag or anything, but at one point I got scouted from one of the Philippine team. Almost got there. Oh, I didn't make it, but it was a good experience for me. And that really put my name out to different schools, and that's how I kind of like got recognized from there.
So you're telling us that at one point you were training with basketball players older than you.
Older my age, we're talking adults, to really toughen me up, to see, you know, what the technical of the games is really all about.
Wow, okay, so how old were you at that time, and how old were they?
So you can imagine a 14 to 50-year-old versus actual adults are early in their 20s. These guys can dunk. They're like 6 foot tall. At the time, I was probably like 5'2" or 3.
Wow, so you're saying a little 14, 15-year-old is training against all these dunking 20-year-olds.
Why not? I mean, there's going to be times where, you know, they will not hold back, because that's part of training. It's all about getting in there and getting the experience. So by the time when it comes to, you know, facing kids my age, it doesn't matter anymore who they are.
Were you scared though, facing, you know, these?
No. The mindset is obviously when you get started first, naturally you would get scared, but game after game after game after game later, you get a feel for the game, and then from there, you know, all these big players just turn into teammates, and teammates turn into, I know what you're gonna do, so this time I'm gonna do this time. It's like playing chess. It's all about getting a feel for that game.
Right. So is that sort of training with older kids played an important role in your?
It played an important role in my game, definitely, because, you know, these kids are these men are relentless. They sometimes my coach back in the Philippines would actually pay these players to play with me.
Wow.
So that grabbed their attention, and and from there it really just escalated, because that mentality in your head where you have to now beat these players or find a way to beat these players just gets installed in your head, and you get more creative after game because you get a feel for what these guys are. And it's just not your usual player. My coach would bring in fresh new players. Some players are dominating the right hand, some players are dominating left, some players are dominating both. Some can shoot far, some are quicker than others. So in terms of adjusting to all of that, that was just that was a fun experience. I'd never forget the time when I was pushed to a point where it was a 5-on-5 game. It was close. My teammates were actually relying on me to finish the play.
So your teammates are also
we're also adults as well.
also, oh gosh, so you were the only under 15?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not, you can't have kids versus adults, no. It's just a special sort of condition that my coach had done for me. So by the time, like I said before, when it comes to facing against kids my age, the result is complete domination, and that's how it should have been.
Complete domination.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say complete domination, what were sort of the stats that you used to...
It's not about, for me in my head, wasn't about stats, it's about winning the game. It's about winning the game. If you get the W, that's all that matters.
Okay. So...
Because basketball is a team game.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You have to like help yourself, but at the same time help your teammates grow. And you can't just rely on yourself all the time and get the job done. Yeah, sure, I've done all this training, but I'm here to win. And that's what it's all about.
Okay. So I remember you sort of mentioned a while ago about you managed to score, I think, 50 points in a
55
game?
points.
55 points.
55 points. Yeah. I was averaging 40 to 55 points per game at one point.
And how is that a team sport?
You know, because it's a team game, you get to analyze what your teammates are like, your strengths and weaknesses, and obviously you're there to help them out.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're here to win. Let's get that W.
Let's get that W.
So sometimes, you know, you have to do it yourself, but at the same time, it's a team game. You play as one, not just a single player.
So it seems like at a young age, it was very ingrained in you that you have to win it no matter what the cost, and it seems like maximum effort all the time.
Maximum effort, of course, yeah.
So in terms of your training regime, sounds really scary.
Oh, my training regime, whoa. Oh, funny story actually. He knows because I trained with him as well when we were kids. At a very young age, we were trained by our dad, and we would do certain drills in the morning. There are certain days where we do morning and somewhat in the afternoon. And this was on a consistent basis. This was something that at a very young age taught us discipline. Taught us that, you know, if we were gonna do something else, like it was just a walk in the park, because we've experienced something even harder than whatever that thing was. If it was to go to school, do this and that, easy, no problem.
So can you sort of tell the people the sort of program that, you know, our dad had set for us before? And
okay, I can tell what I've done, but I don't know what he's done with you.
Okay, you can just tell, you know, the workout program for you.
Okay.
And what you had to go through.
All right. Okay. So early in the morning, it would start off with it was sort of like a run, a slow run around our neighborhood. And my dad would always emphasize dribbling with my weak hand, which is my right hand. So he's trying to sort of emphasize to get me to be an all-rounder dribbler. So I was dribbling with my right hand all over neighborhood, and that's just a warm-up. Usually,
you said you wake up early in the morning, huh?
Early in the morning, we would talk about somewhere around 7, 8, sometimes 6 o'clock. It really does depend of how it goes, but usually 6, 7, or 8, somewhere around there. But we would always do it anyway. We would always do it. Doesn't matter. Dribbling with the right hand, that was a warm up. Obviously, we go with the left hand as well. After that, we would go for what we call a zigzag drill, and basically it would go for 1, 2, 3 dribbles, and you would do a certain move. So the moves that I've done were between the legs, behind the back, and pivots. Between the legs is obviously where you take one side of the ball, put it between your legs, change direction, 3 dribbles, and then you put it behind your legs again, and then it continues on until you finish the whole road of the neighborhood. And the point of all of this is that we've done all of that, the between the legs, the behind the back and the pivots, and in the end I had to do a sprint. That was the most epic one. End of the day, it was all about getting them done. I remember sprinting while having headphones in my ears and the wind just blowing into my head. And I remember I felt like I had enough energy just to go back for a second round. And when I made it back into the house, I was gasping for air. But as soon as I came back to the house, he told me this is the perfect time to do free throws. Because when you're tired and when you're doing free throws, chances are you will miss. But if you get used to it, when you're at your most tired and you're doing free throws, and if you make it anyway, you would be a very big contributor to your team and to the game. And that was just the dribbling drills.
Oh my god.
Those were just the dribbling drills.
How long did that normally last for?
Half an hour to an hour, depending.
Oh my gosh, and that was a warm up.
Those were actual workouts. They were hard. They were hard. Sometimes my dad would mix it up, and he would introduce me to the skipping rope. Now that would, I remember doing skipping ropes for about 20 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, and each time I would have to not jump low, but the main point's being explosive and just jumping high. Just jumping high, jumping high, jumping high.
So you're saying that you would jump 10, 20, 30 minutes straight, jumping high.
It's one of those things.
I didn't know that.
Where when you're a kid, that you're just so energetic, and when you see results, like I remember the time where I actually reached the board in my ring. So there's a shooting board. It would be around I don't know, 12 feet, 12 feet. And then I remember at the time I was able to jump high enough to reach the board, which was great. But what really got me was when I had results, I was able to reach the ring.
And how old were you when you managed to reach the ring?
16.
16.
Yeah, and I wasn't really that tall. I was about 5'4" or something like that. Anyway.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And yeah, that's what made the game so excited. That's what made the game fun, because you see progress, and each game that you play, you meet other players that are just very technical. Some are quicker than others. Some are very great shooters, but really bad stamina or something like that. And you know, at the time, that's what made the game fun. Until it became very competitive, and time goes on when you grow older and you reach challenges where, oh yeah, there's this 5'7" Filipino point guard going against 6 foot people. That didn't scare me. I still played because I love the game anyway. Until I got injured, and then I started thinking. And then from there, here we are.
Okay, so it seems that from a kid going through very strenuous and vigorous training regimes to
no lie, that's no lie.
So I just want to touch on that for a second, because I think not a lot of people could think of ever doing what you did when you were a kid. I just wanted to know, like, what was going through your head while doing all of this.
It was kind of like our world, really. Well, I say our world, but in my head, that was kind of like my world. I had a goal. I wanted to be a professional basketball player. And in order to do that, you have to work hard. Definitely, you'd have to work hard to get there. And that's exactly what I did. It didn't matter how hard it was. I did it anyway, in a consistent basis. We did it.
You make it sound so easy.
It's all in the head. It's literally all in the head. If there's anything that I have learned when it came to those drills, the training, hard work, it's all in your head. Do you enjoy what you do, or is it just a drag for you every day? Because my dad told me, if it's a drag, we can stop here, no problem. you know, as you're my son, I still love you. I told him, heck no, I'm still going. I'm still moving on. I love the game, so I kept going. Even to this day, I still play a little bit of basketball, and I watch it. I'm a big basketball fan.
We don't want to go too
far.
deep into that, because we might start a debate with the audience. So you mentioned about having an injury. How did that happen? Because it seems like
so we were in it was more of a Filipino league in London, and it was a practice game. I play like I usually do. I play hard, play like it's my last game. I was going for a layup and I landed my foot wrong, basically. So I tore a ligament into my ankle. When I remember it like it was pretty clear to me. I heard a click, and then I took off my shoe. My ankle became swollen. Went to the hospital. Went to the emergency room. I was out for about 6 months. So those 6 months gave me time to think. What if life of basketball doesn't work out for you? What will you do? So my thoughts in my head, I started searching. But within those 6 months, I didn't think of anything. Because the only thing in my head was, I could still play. I could still do this. I could still get up from this. But I'd started to play less because the injury was really getting into me, so I decided to rest, you know, get myself fully recovered. And those time of thinking, that's where I discovered cosplay, because I'm a big comic fan. I love anime and I love all these little things. And I attended one of the biggest Comic-Cons in Europe, which is MCM London. I went there and I started taking pictures on my phone. From there, it was really fun. That was because you get new friends, you get memories out of all of that, and then you share it in social media, and then all of a sudden, like it becomes a memory.
Interesting.
And for me, that meant a lot, and that lasts forever.
Is that sort of part of still during your 6 months of recovery?
Yeah.
And how did you? Sorry, if you don't mind me asking, how did you take that news, or like, how did you know when it was time to retire?
Well, when I started doing photography, it just opened my world into something else. And because I already had that mindset of, you know, getting things done and that curiosity and that drive, and I didn't have to train my body or anything. It's literally just know what the camera can do and learn about it. And that's literally all I done, and I had fun with it. So from there, I started using my camera more. I had more fun, I started investing more stuff, and before you know it, I want to be a photographer.
So that's interesting. So when you transition into photography and cosplay, you didn't have any second thoughts of, oh, what's my life without basketball or stuff like that, or was it going through your head as well? Tell us more about sort of that portion of that transition phase.
Right. So life without basketball, it was different because physically I knew I couldn't really go that far because I was a short player to begin with. So I was at a huge advantage no matter how you look at it, but I had a huge heart. So I played hard. I did what I had to do to get my team to win. But at the same time, photography for me became a different path. It kind of opened up to different opportunities for me to meet people. Because if I was just to play basketball, like I would have to sacrifice a lot of things. I mean, not that I don't mind or anything, but for me, I have more fun and I enjoy it more being behind the camera and just sharing stories, creating memories, and creating some very, very, very nice art. videos, and all of this stuff.
It seems that you brought something from sports into your newfound career.
Yeah, it's just another, again, it's just another part of mindset where if you want something, you better go get it. It's not gonna come to you. You gotta work hard for it. I'm not gonna say you should work harder than anyone else, because really what it is photography is your own self-development. And the more that you learn how to use it in certain ways and like just explode with it, then you do just fine.
Wow, that's powerful, guys. That alone for me, like, so powerful. And if you don't mind sharing, just tell us, how did you now start getting into, this whole fighting cancer part of your life?
Right. So I was still doing photography for, on the sideline, to opening up to portrait shots and all of that. And then I was given the news one day that I was diagnosed with leukemia. I am now fighting cancer. So in my head, it's just another bump in the road, really. A lot of people would be devastated with this news like this, but things like this has been treated for years. It is life-threatening, don't get me wrong. And sometimes in the back of my head you worry. But cancer is just another bump in the road. It's not what happens to you that defines you, it's what you do that defines you. I had a spine injection. You remember that?
Oh gosh.
I think he was here the next day when it happened. I had a spine injection. Chemotherapy being injected through my spine, so to make sure that the leukemia cells don't go through my brain or to my central nervous system. Yeah. And the next day I went to the gym. It wasn't really a gym. It wasn't impressive at all. But the nurse was quite impressed of what I've done. And for a neutropenic person, it was meant to be a 5-minute workout, but it turned to a 20 minute workout. Yeah. She said for a neutropenic person, it would be, their bodies would go through a marathon. But in my head, it was just another walk in the park. It's literally just things of how you deal it in your head. And if you keep going with that positive thinking, you can do things that you would be surprised to do.
So what helps you, stay or have this consistent positive mindset? How do you do it?
Well, it's just when the moment comes, when the spur of the moment comes, in my head there's no point of being sad, being anxious, being whatever, because in my head there's just no point. At a young age I've been disciplined about it, and I know everything, and I know what it is to feel being pressured. So just go forward with it, do what you can, think positive, because there's no point in thinking like, oh god, this is gonna hurt. No, just take every day one day at a time. Every day is a victory.
Every day is a victory.
Every day is a victory.
So can you, by just wrapping up, tell us maybe the biggest life lessons you've learned from your sporting career, and how is it helping you in your life and the part of your life right now kicking cancer's ass?
Okay, so if there's anything that I've learned, it's just positive thinking. Like I mentioned before, take every day one day at a time, because every day is a victory. Discipline and hard work, although in this case in cancer you don't really need discipline or hard work, but you just have to have that positive thinking. There's no point in thinking, oh, I'm gonna stay here forever or whatnot. It's literally, if you stay positive good things are gonna come to you. In the next couple of days, if I do well and not get fevers, I'm going to come back home as an outpatient for a couple of weeks. Out of all that hard work, there will always be a reward. So yeah, just take every day as another day, because every day is a victory.
Every day is a victory. Wow, I'm speechless from that. And you know, guys, from what he's been saying, for those people who know somebody who's going through cancer, he makes it seem like it's a walk in the park, but it can be if you see it that way.
That's right.
The thing is, not many people, or people who don't even have cancer, see their life as something that they have to do, like their job, or I have to go to the gym to stay fit. And those things, it's just, as he says, it's a mindset, it's how you see stuff. But coming from a person who's fighting cancer right now and is still continuing to do so, is, if he sees life like this, imagine how your life would look like if you took on board that mindset of seeing every day as a victory. Right?
Life's too short. You could be in the hospital bed. Life's too short.
That's coming from him. You know, in my family, we never thought that he would have this cancer thing.
Never did I. Just.
And for me, if I were to share a lesson as well, is don't take yourself or your life for granted. At any given moment, something could happen just like that. So guys, you've heard my brother's story. I hope that inspired you to continue to enjoy your life and probably start to think more of having a positive mindset if you already have one. I'd also like to say, if you guys know any athletes with a very powerful story that is willing to share their experiences, feel free to contact me in the email link below. As well, I'll also leave links for you guys to follow Brandon so you keep up to date of what he's going through and his condition is. And finally guys, as always, please continue to embrace life and see it as an adventure.